Welcome to the Delicious Recap Family Matters. I'm Jon Francois. Who are you?
I am Ajay Vandertunt.
And boy, do we have a conversation. Now, this is kind of different from our usual round of interviews. We've been interviewing cast and crew involved with Family Matters, whether they be guest stars or a director like Rich Correll. We are talking with someone who, like us, is a big fan of this show. Her name is Christian Demeritt. She reached out to us on Instagram on one of our posts. And I guess just by happenstance, I was like, hey, come on the show. We would like to talk about the fandom. We would like to relate this. And wow, I mean, not only did we talk about our Family Matters experiences, what else did we talk about?
We talked about our love for Black comedies, one of them being Living Single. We did a little comparison of Friends, a little bit of Family Matters and meeting Joey Marie Payton, and then also a Darius McQuarrie story, which I think was very delicious.
Yep. And we also get the specific character on the show that Christian identified with the most. She talked about A Different World, the Cosby Show spinoff, in a way that I did not expect. So let's dive into that. She talks about her experience acting in a good time-ish theater production. Please enjoy Christian Demeritt, ultimate Family Matters fan. I see you got your ceiling fan on there, Christian. Is it hot where you are?
You know what? This week has been the first week in LA that it hasn't been the first week that has been above 60 in like maybe a month or so.
Yeah, I've heard that LA lately has been living up to its creed with the hotness.
Oh yeah, the winter here is weird. The winter here is rain, all rain, lots of rain, the occasional earthquake, and cold, wet rain. So,
I love that you just throw out there the occasional earthquake in between the drizzles.
That's how it is. That's exactly how it is.
Yeah, I just realized that because, I aside from a little bit of time in the Midwest, I've spent most of my life out here in the East Coast. So when you say earthquake, it's like a foreign concept because I've never experienced that.
I'm from Miami, so I just got used to this a couple of years ago. I moved here about 2.5 years ago. So yeah,
and Florida, I mean, you're dealing with hurricanes, so there's another.
Which is easy. You just get a generator and have a party. Put everything on the grill.
Well, hey, thank you so much for your time, Christian. So your last name is pronounced Demeritt?
Yeah, Demeritt.
Demeritt. Okay. Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking of like the demerits that I would get like back in my Christian private school whenever I got into trouble.
That's the one. And because my first name is Christian and my middle name is Joy, that's how I introduce myself. Christian, like Christianity, Joy, like the feeling, and Demerit's like what you get in school or the military. That's how I do it.
Love that. So do you mind telling the story of how, I mean, it might just be a simple story, but let's just ask it this way anyway. Like, how did you become a fan of Family Matters? What does the show mean to you and your childhood and such?
First of all, Family Matters is on right now. Okay, this is how much I watch the show, and I've always watched it. So I'm an older gal, so I used to watch it when it was in production. Every Friday night, TGIF in the 90s. I was born in the 80s, raised in the 90s. And it was the talk of the town. Of course, I don't know how old you guys are, but this was before DVR, before, it wasn't even in syndication when I was watching it. So like you had to catch it when it was on. It wasn't going to replay. You know what I mean? So we used to come to school talking about Family Matters. That was the show. And it was sweeping the nation like in the early 90s. So I became a fan in elementary school, just because, first of all, there were Black people on TV. Like, that was major. And it's not that there weren't any Black people on TV in the early 90s. It's just, for me, this was the first time I remember feeling represented. There was a broad type of character that was on television that was kind of a character that could be Black, but it could also be anybody. I felt like Family Matters was written for Black people. I know it wasn't written by Black people, but I felt like in a lot of ways it was tailored to certain Black experiences, or at least my Black experience. I'll say that. I'll speak for myself. You know what I mean? So I'm sure the actors had a lot to do with it and the way that it was kind of curated to feel authentic to my lived experience.
Right.
I became a fan because I saw myself on TV, you know?
Now, you had mentioned like just feeling represented when you saw Family Matters, because I do know that prior to Family Matters, you had other shows like Cosby Show and Different World. Did you not feel as represented by those shows?
So if I'm not mistaken, well, Cosby Show, I don't know what happened, because that would be my era. Everybody always asks me about Cosby Show. I didn't watch the Cosby Show like that. I don't know what happened. I mean, it was on NBC. It was, let me get the years right. Family Matters started in what, 89?
Yep.
88, 89. And A Different World was 89 too, right? Or 88, something like that.
It might have been 87. It might have started.
Oh, 87. That first year was 87. It sure was. And then Cosby was like 84.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So 84 is the year I was born. Edit that part out. 84 is the year I was born. So I was not watching the Cosby Show. I don't know what happened. It seems like when I watch it in reruns now, it seems cool. It seems fun. Of course, you know the classic episodes, but it wasn't my show. It wasn't my show. And maybe if I had seen it first or remembered seeing it before Family Matters, maybe I would feel more of a connection.
Right.
Different World, that first season, no, absolutely not. That wasn't for me. It was, in my opinion, trash TV. It should not have been on television. Lisa Bonet, I'm sure she's a great person. I don't think she should have been leading a sitcom. And Debbie Allen came and saved that show, and it became one of my favorites as well in the second season. But that first season of A Different World reminded me of, follow me here, it reminded me of Lisa Turtle on Saved by the Bell, in that the characters might as well have been white characters. Like it did not seem authentically Black. I went to an HBCU. I went to Florida A&M University, and it did not seem authentically Black. It could have been interchanged with any other ethnicity, in my opinion. That first season. Do you remember the episodes where they were doing, and this is A Different World, so I don't know if you're gonna keep this, but when they were doing like taking care of the egg episodes, like everybody in college now, in a college course, their assignment was to take care of an egg as a baby. They had like a little egg baby, and then they had the assignment where if somebody messed up their rooms or didn't pass inspection, they would wear a pig nose, and they would walk around with the pig nose, and that was the A premise out of an A and B premise of a sitcom. That was the A premise of the whole episode. Like, what is this? This is trash. This is college. What are we doing? You know, I thought I was watching like a middle school show that first season. And then Debbie Allen came, and she literally made all the women take out their weaves. She gave them authentic, like natural hairstyles, just little small nuances that made it feel more Black. And the subject matter was more real. They spoke differently. They acted differently. They had I don't think they had the Pit in the first season with is it the Pit? Yeah, with Mr. Gaines. You know what I mean? Everything just felt more real. It really could have been any HBCU USA.
I was just entertained by your reaction, Andrew, because it seemed like you had the same opinion about A Different World from Lisa Bonet to the rest of the show.
100% that first season. So when A Different World was on, I still was very young. So it did not like grasp me as a child. But then I rewatched it as I got older, and I was like, this first season, what is this? I have never seen a single Black person in my life do this. College was nothing like this. Everything was unrelatable. That first season of A Different World, you might as well call it Friends Part 2, because it's that bad.
It's the way they were talking too, and it's not that all Black people speak a certain way, but it didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel right. I'm glad she came and changed it, because it became an amazing show after that. Like it did a complete 180.
Oh my God!
In A Different World. Oh, you were asking me why I didn't relate to those. Okay, so the reason why, so that's the reason why I didn't feel represented before, specifically before Laura Winslow in Family Matters, not just Family Matters.
So what about Family Matters and Laura Winslow made you say, okay, like this gets me?
I'm so glad you asked me that. So first of all, Laura, it's hard to put into words that are politically correct, so just follow me here. Laura, well, Kelly Shaneen Williams, was a theater actor before she started with Family Matters. And, she was very young when she started with Family Matters. She's from DC. She is and was so authentic. I know I keep going back to that. You're going to hear me say that a lot. She was so authentic to my lived experience. Like, I'm a girl from Miami. I was raised in the suburbs, but I'm hood adjacent. So I have access to the hood, and everybody I know is, from the hood, and I can easily get to the hood in a couple of minutes. But, still a suburban girl, pastor's daughter, good girl, straight A student, that type of thing. But Laura, unlike maybe the Lisa Turtles of the world, was very much a Black girl in a really in a positive light. Not to mention, she looked amazing. Her hair was always tight. Her clothes were always amazing. She was still just a little urban, politically correct term. And I loved it because I felt like that was me, or at least that's what I wanted to be. That was my goal, to still have it all together. And she was funny. She was a good actor too.
Okay.
I would say almost everybody on the show was really authentic to their acting, like straight, like theater-based acting. You know what I mean?
Okay. Now, the Laura that you're describing, it's interesting because I see that as like the later seasons Laura, because like as me and Andrew are recapping the first first season. All we're thinking of is like,
Oh no.
yeah, right, like the cow printed sweater, and
Oh no, no.
it's so okay. Would you agree? Like first season Laura, definitely not what we see later on.
I would say first season and a half. So I would say maybe like the second part of the second season and the third season, definitely. And you know what it is? She was starting to get older. She wasn't a preteen anymore. So she probably had a bit more input. And when I say that, I mean like as an actor, like you might not be writing the script, but who you are comes through more when you're more sure of yourself. You know what I mean? So you might be saying their lines, but you change it up a little bit to how you would speak or in the way and the tone and the attitude that you would say it. I started to see that more. So even when she was, I don't know what season it was, maybe y'all can help me, when she was petitioning to get Black History Month at the school.
Oh, that was season 3, I think.
Was that 3?
I think it was season 3.
Okay. It sounds like, because I remember she started wearing her hair differently too. She used to do the tie back ponytail, and then like somewhere around 2 or 3, she started letting her hair down, which of course, as a Black girl, I was like, oh my God, Laura's hair is amazing. But she started being more like, it seems like she started being more Kelly and less like the cookie cutter character. And I guess after that, the ratings are established. You have fans now, you have a following, so you can start to take a bit more risks. You know what I mean? And I think that's what she was doing. The first season, I think in sitcoms in general, the first couple of seasons, it's not, you don't really get to see who these people are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. In terms of the evolution of Laura, I was just jumping around researching for one of our guests that we previously recorded, Rob Rasner, who was like a frequent background player on Family Matters. And I think I watched like a season 8 episode to research him. And I was just struck by Laura's appearance from season 8 compared to season 1, where we're recapping. Because, season 1, she's like wearing all these Catholic schoolgirl outfits, goody. And then season 8, all of a sudden, she has like a 60s short hair perm. She had like a shirt, like, the
tie-up shirt.
Shirt thing, where you show the belly. She has a really short skirt. I'm like, whoa, okay, this is a different Laura.
She grew up on television. I think she was 13 or 12 to 19 or 20 or something like that. Like she grew up on TV. So we saw all iterations. We saw the awkward preteen. And if she ever watches this, I love you, Kelly, but I'm going to say this. She had the weirdest posture when she first started the show. Like it was awkward, but she had like a thing where she was like doing a turtleneck, like literally her neck was sunken into her shoulders. And then she grew up and kind of became cute. And, it was the 90s. So they were kind of maybe objectifying her a little bit, even as a teen. So she started, wearing tighter things and her body started changing. And that was goals for me, a young teenage girl. And then she became a woman and she cut her hair and she got real, real slim, which is like 90s, waif. And then like the outfits were bomb. I mean, she was singing. I mean, come on. She was everything.
What did you think about her relationship with Steve? I mean, were you kind of like, oh my God, this is so annoying because Steve keeps pushing at her? Were you like, oh, Laura, like, be easy on Steve? Like, what did you think of that dynamic? Because I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's certain aspects of that dynamic that wouldn't hold up too well today.
See, and I'm glad you said that about today, because it's important for me to try to remember the time that this was shot in and aired in, and try not to, it's hard, but try not to look at it in my 2024 eyes or through my 2024 lens, or even anything after like the 2000s, because it's different. Things were more accepted then. Like we didn't even think twice about it. He was straight up harassing this girl. And it wasn't like he needs to go away. It was hilarious to us. And we didn't even realize at the time, of course I realized later, we didn't even realize at the time that Steve had come in and taken over the show. The show wasn't about the family anymore. We didn't even realize that was happening as children. Obviously adults and the actors and whomever else, obviously they realized this, especially Miss Peyton, who I love, hometown hero. But they realized it, but we didn't realize that at the time. And it was great. They had Urkel Cheerios. They had Urkel dolls. That like this man was everywhere, and an amazing entertainer, by the way, Jaleel White, like straight up amazing for what he did and who he actually was. He never broke character in my eyes. You know what I mean? As far as how his relationship with Laura, I felt like he was hilarious. I felt like he was like not just the slapstick comedy, which he had as well with the whole posture and the nasally voice, but his comedic timing. I felt like they played so well off of each other. They had good chemistry. Him and Carl had good chemistry. Like him and Lil Richie had good chemistry. Like I really felt like he played off of everyone. He had a relationship with everybody in the family. Maybe not so much Harriet though. A little bit with Harriet. A lot of times she was coming to save him from them bullying him, but they didn't show that much relationship between them together. But everybody, he had a relationship with Eddie, Waldo. Like, he had his scenes and rapport with every single character. I think he held his own as the lead, despite the fact that he took the show.
I was just going to ask you, when you were watching the show and you saw Steve and Laura's relationship, did you ever think like, oh, that's goals, I want somebody to be that desperate for me? Or were you like, no, this is still not okay?
Let me tell you what I remember thinking. I never thought I wanted somebody to be that desperate for me. What I remember thinking is, okay, this is me as a preteen now, y'all. So forgive me. Early 90s, late 90s. I remember thinking, this is before Stefan. I remember thinking, you know what? Steve kind of cute. Like, she playing him a little bit. If you squint and shake your head to the right, Steve could be kind of cute. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't play him like that. Look how maybe I was thinking that I wish somebody was that desperate. Maybe, I was thinking that Steve is not as ugly and hideous as they made him seem. And you know what it is? When he first came on the scene, they established that this was a freak. Like, he was eating mice. Do y'all remember that?
Yeah. Yes.
He was rumored to have eating rodents. Like, we're not just talking about, oh, I like cheese. No, we're talking about something is wrong with this child. No, like, he might need to be committed. Why are we eating rodents? So he was like on another level, but then they gave him more of a character. They made him more endearing. It was the 90s. So, they always had to have special moments where his heart was broken, and they got to really act, which is why I love 90s TV so much. There was a scene with Laura and Steve when they were younger, and I can name one, the Christmas episode when he broke her gift that she got for her mom. And she was like going off on him, go away, I don't ever want to see you again. He was like, all right, I'll go. And you started to see the real acting, and then Laura was crying. I was like, y'all better act. No, y'all better act. You know what I mean? Like, it was different. I forgot your original question. I'm sorry.
Oh, my original question or Andrew?
I think Andrew was asking me about somebody being desperate.
I did. I asked, did you ever have that as a goal when you were younger watching the show?
I wouldn't say that exact goal, no, but I did think that Steve was kind of cute. I felt like they played him a little too hard.
Which makes me answer, so how did you feel when we got Stefan or Kel? Were you like, oh, damn? Or were you just like, nah, I like him better as Steve?
The Stefan or Kel episode, can I take you on a journey with me?
Sure.
So, and I knew you were going to ask about this, and if you didn't, I was going to bring it up. 5th grade, my mother was a teacher at my school. My sister attended my school, my little sister. And I remember walking, I can see this happening. I remember Monday morning, after it had aired on Friday, walking towards the playground, and all the other girls in 5th grade, we only had a few Black girls and we all hung together. All the other 5th grade girls come running towards me from the playground because I'm walking on campus and like, did you see? We are going crazy. This was the biggest thing to happen that week, but it was the biggest thing to happen. You know what I mean? Like, we finally got to see Steve take off his glasses. We had already talked about this. We knew the boy was fine underneath the glasses, but they were playing him, and it finally happened. It's like we made it happen. It's almost like they heard our prayers or whatever. And I think other people wondered too what he really looked like and what he really talked like, and he can't be like this dorky. So it was a big deal. It was a big deal. And my little hormones were just a popping, especially when they were dancing the little 2-step to the Babyface song.
Oh, yeah.
For the cool in you. Let me tell you something. There was a time, y'all, this is how much of a dork I am. There was a time that I said in my wedding, at my reception, I wanted to have on that crochet vest that Laura had on with the high water jeans and the platform shoes. And I wanted a dude to have on the white suit that he had on. We were going to do the little 2-step. This is for the cool. It was everything.
Yeah.
That scene was everything. Honestly, it was a big deal for us back then.
Now, I'm curious. I mean, because with Family Matters lasting 9 seasons, not every show is going to like have consistent quality over the course of 9 years. Like, did it get to a point where it's just like, oh God, like this show needs to end? Or were you always in love with it like all throughout the show?
No, it lasted too long. Have you heard the term jump the shark?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so when Steve started overusing that transformation chamber, when he started turning into Bruce Lee and Elvis, and Albert Einstein, what are we doing? Like, and also I had grown up too. Like, just like they grew up, it was almost 10 years. I was like, are they still? I would tune in sometimes from the TGIF, and I'm like, are they still doing this? And let's talk about looking at something through a 2024 lens. That accent that he had for Bruce Lee,
problematic.
I mean offensive. And I ain't a piece of Asian, and I was offended. I was offended. Why are you talking with? I'm not even going to go into but baby, that was bad.
And Andrew, I want to hear your thoughts about this, because like I think the moment where I feel like I'm going to start like not liking liking recapping Family Matters is when we get to that. Because when we were talking to the director Rich Correll, I mean, I think he directed some of those episodes where it was getting all science fiction. Steve is becoming a karate guy. Steve is becoming this and that. And I mean, maybe as a kid you're entertained by that, but like looking back as an adult, I'm just like, oh no, this is going to be a show I won't even recognize anymore.
Whenever I get to those episodes, and I am like you, Christian, I will watch the show. I will have Family Matters back on the background and watch the same episode 10 times if I enjoy it. Once we got to the end of season 8 into season 9, and I was like, okay, so Carl's Steve now, Eddie's Steve now. Are we gonna get a Laura Steve? Like, what is happening here? It was so bad.
It was bad. It was bad. What season was the episode where they had Stevel? Y'all remember Stevel?
I remember Stevel.
That was when he was the short little evil version, like the mini-me version of Steve. Like, and I think they had an actual dwarf, a little person, playing him with like a mask on or something. It's just...
I mean, let's look at I think the series finale ended up being a two-parter where Steve was in space for a mission for a while, and then he ended up just getting back to Earth and maybe proposing to Laura. And that wasn't intended to be the series finale, but even then, I think the space aspect of it, I was just like, what is this show? Like, why are we doing NASA Steve Urkel docuseries right now instead of Family Matters with the Winslows and everything like that?
Right.
I mean, yeah. So
Could you imagine being an actor on that show? I've had the privilege of meeting a few of them, Darius McCrary and Miss Peyton, Jo Marie Peyton, and I can only imagine. I didn't talk to them about this, but I can only imagine being an actor on that show who trained and did all of this work. And of course, first of all, to get a hit show, hello, not everybody gets a hit show. I'm out here trying to get a hit show now. You know what I mean? Like that's what everybody's trying to do. But after a while, you don't get to act anymore. You actually don't have to act anymore. You're just a side character to hijinks, and you're not even really doing the general energy of everyone on the show went down. Of course, that's why Miss Peyton left. But everybody was just kind of like showing up, say a few lines to bounce off of Steve, and all right, Steve. It was like it was bad. They should have let it go a long time ago.
That and you know what? You speak about the energy, and when I watched that season 8 episode, it was when Steve went to college. Andrew, I think I had mentioned that to you. I was like, man, Laura seems more bassy, more low energy. I think I remarked this about another character. It was just not the charismatic, projecty, sort of Southern accented Laura that I was like watching, in the first season with you. So yeah, no, by season 8, when it was clear that it was the Steve Urkel show, I could understand, especially Jo Marie Peyton. I mean, my God, she left 5 episodes away from the show being ended, and she didn't know that it was going to end. And since you had met her in person, you guys both being Florida natives, did you ever have a chance to talk to her about her time on the show and why she decided to leave? Did you ever get anything in depth like that?
So anything that we talked about, she talked about, because I was in awe of her. She went to high school with my mom's best friend. She's, a Miami girl. Like she's a true Miami girl, old school Black Miami. And that's a different level if you know anything about Miami people. But I think she was born in Georgia, but she's a Southern woman. So, and I'm a Southern girl, so I'm super respectful. This woman is in her 70s. Like, I've met her a couple of times at live shows when I was at home in South Florida, and she volunteers the information. So the first time I met her, I didn't even want to go up to her. Like, I never want to be like a pest. So I'm over there like in the corner, just like not saying anything. And she walks up to me because she notices that I probably know the show and I know who she is. She walks up to me. She was like, "Hi, what's your name?" I was like, "I love you. I just want to tell you that I grew up watching you." I was like, "Okay, shut up, calm down." Like I just started, spewing off everything. Yeah. And she was like, "Oh, okay, baby. Oh, that's so mother energy, like sweet potato pie, warm hug, mother energy. So sweet." And she was like, "Oh yeah, I just shot a reunion for Family Matters." She brought this up. We just shot a reunion for Family Matters with people or something like that. And she said, "We just got finished doing it. It's going to air soon." And it was great seeing everybody. And she was like, "Yeah," I told her she made me proud. She made me want to be an actor, like all of that stuff. She never talked about details. It was always general. "I'm glad you appreciate my work." I told her about stuff I saw her in beforehand because I know actors like that when you don't just mention one thing. So I told her about seeing her in Beverly Hills Troop Beverly Hills, the old 80s movie. Y'all probably don't know what that is, but it's an old movie. Do you know? And
I know it.
Do you? Okay.
I have it on DVD.
What? Come on.
I ordered it specifically to have it on DVD.
I love that. Yeah, I told her about that. I told her about the the stint she did on the Red Fox show back in the day. Like, I don't know if y'all familiar with that.
Someone shared a clip of that on Instagram. I saw that clip. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was
I don't know if I've seen it, but
it was like a Brian Get show where she was, I think she was like Red Fox's grandmother or wife or whatever. Like it kind of had like Sanford and Son vibes to it. I can't remember.
Yeah. I remember hearing about it. And I like to bring up kind of obscure things because I know when you do work and you feel like people only know you for one thing, it kind of feels like, well, dang, I do other stuff, you know what I mean? So, and she was just appreciative, sweet, took a picture with me, complimented my outfit. And I mean, that was it.
So when you say you met Jo Marie volunteering for shows, like what kind of shows was she volunteering for?
No, not volunteering. I don't know if I said volunteering. I saw her at live shows. So like we'll have plays in Miami. Like I've done a few shows in Miami. She'll come out and support. Or I think I saw her at a jazz show. She was just in the audience. You know what I mean? Because she's a hometown hero. Anytime she shows up to a Black event, it's like, stop everything. Miss Jo Marie Payton's here. You know what I mean? That type of situation. So it was always known that she was in the building, always showing up. Like you can almost guarantee if you go to we have the African American Cultural Arts Center in Liberty City, Florida, and it's a youth center. So a lot of kids come out there. I've volunteered. I've sung for them. I've sung background for them, and she'll show up. She just shows up. You can guarantee that she's going to pop up. Like she supports all the time, and she also likes it seems like she likes the attention. It's not a situation where it's like, don't talk to me. She likes the fact that people still give her flowers. She accepts them. She embraces them. She's real like regular and sweet. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. So if I met her, not only Family Matters, of course, I would mention the Proud Family. I would mention the Will and Grace appearances that I saw her in recently. Perfect Strangers. I mean,
Perfect Strangers, the original. Yes.
Oh
she
my
would
God.
love that. And she offered to take a picture. She was like, do you want to take a picture? And I'm the type of person, even here in LA, I see people all the time, people I grew up watching, like literally probably twice, 2 or 3 times a week, because there's only 9% Black people here. So I'm always seeing them somewhere, and I don't want to bother people. I don't ever want to be like, hey, do you mind? You know what I mean? I was in the mall yesterday and saw Lil Fizz from B2K. He just walked by me. And I'm like, okay. I don't want to mess with people, but she offered. And I think it's because she's been doing this for so long that she knows I want a picture. You know what I mean? How many times are you going to offer to take a picture and people go like, no, thank you. I want to take a picture with you. You know what I mean?
The common thread that Andrew and I, because Andrew, you agree. I mean, it seems like all we've been hearing about the Family Matters cast is that they could not have been more nice and more professional. So now, I mean, I don't know about you, Andrew, but this makes me want to bump into Jo Marie or Reginald or Darius and see if we can get a pleasant conversation going.
I've just always imagined, and Christian, I have to ask you if you got this feeling, that Jo Marie Payton either makes a delicious mac or she just knows how to cook some good food that'll make you feel good inside and warm.
The thing about stereotypes, Andrew, is they are based in truth. And this woman is from the South. She's from Georgia and Florida. She's a Black mama. That lady cooks. You can't tell me she don't cook. You can't tell me she don't cook. If she don't cook, it would be like a choice. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
So on that point, and Andrew, you remember when we're recapping the season episodes and we're seeing Jo Marie as Harriet making those bland ass white people sandwiches in a dry ass pot roast. What is that?
She was directed to do that. That's the only way. That's what they had available. She was directed to do that. That's the only way. She probably was like, hope nobody sees this. Come on. Come on now. She know how to make some food.
So I think you had mentioned seeing Darius McCrary in person. What was that like? Because I'm trying to contrast what I've been seeing from him on social media with real life interactions and see if maybe there's something matching up or maybe there is indeed a contrast. I don't know, because what I see on social media, it's like, oh, okay, this is an interesting character.
That is one way to put it. He is exactly how you would expect him to be. I worked with him on a show on Fox called Star. They used to be on a Lee Daniels show.
Oh.
Yeah. And this is when I was living in Atlanta. I don't bother celebrities. I let them do what they do. So I was in a scene with him and he was walking by, chasing after someone to kill them. And my job was to walk by and wave at somebody, right? And so every time, if you've ever been on a set, they got to restart over and over. Restart, start back from one, restart. So we're doing the same thing over and over again. And every time we did it, he would bump into me. He wasn't directed to do it, but he would bump into me. I guess he was trying to make it look realistic. I don't know. I'm not going to say nothing to the man. I feel like he's been doing this for long long enough. He knows what he's doing. So finally, he bumped into me really hard for like the fourth time. And I was like, I didn't say anything. And he was like, so you just gonna keep ignoring me? He turned to me and said, so you just gonna keep ignoring me? I was like, no, Darius McCrary, I'm not ignoring you. He was like, girl, you know you feel me pushing you. He was like, what's up? How you doing? And we just started talking. It was like that. It was like he was pushing me on purpose to get me to be like, dang, or to say something to him. And I didn't because I'm such a professional. And he was like, well, hello, I'm trying to get your attention. And we just started talking and he's funny. And on the break, I did something you're never supposed to do. I pulled out my phone and took a video of me and him. And he kind of knew I wasn't supposed to do that because he was like trying to rush back to what he was doing. I was being a fan.
Why weren't you allowed to do a video with him?
You're not supposed to. So it's a show that has not been aired yet. It's being filmed. So you're not supposed to show like what I'm showing really kind of could reveal the plot. It could reveal what's happening because I'm showing background behind me while I'm, filming. I'm showing the costume he has on. If his character dies or it's a cliffhanger, I'm kind of showing that he lived. You know what I mean? It could be, you're not supposed to pull out your phone for things like that. They tell us not to, but
With being somebody who has watched the show since it originally aired, would you want to see a remake or a new branch off series created for us to get that feeling back that happened when the show originally aired?
I'm not going to say no because so many, which is rare, so many of the original cast is still around. So I'm not going to say no. And a lot of them are still working. But we're doing this for the reboots are for the purpose of getting that nostalgia back, at least for us, right? For the industry, it's to make money. And they know they'll get a guaranteed viewership. But for us, it's to get that special feeling back. And they have to have the right people do it if they do it. It can't just be get the originals back, go to Warner Brothers and make it happen. Like I would want somebody whoever's behind Abbott Elementary to do it. And the reason why I say that is because they've kind of captured that old school, endearing heart of a show, making you care about characters. And I wouldn't want them to do, I wouldn't want them to do like a movie. I would want it to be like maybe a series. I know it sounds crazy, but I know they're free. I'm assuming they're free. I want them to do a series. And I think it could actually happen. I wouldn't say that about every show, but I really do think it could actually happen.
I know that Jo Marie made it clear that she wouldn't be involved if Jamie wasn't involved.
Jamie got to be involved. First of all the controversy over that girl getting kicked off that show, there's no way. First of all, if you do it right, you start off the show without her. And then at the end of the first episode of the series, have her walk in the door like, where y'all been? I've been waiting for y'all or something. Or have her come down the stairs. Duh. Have her come down the stairs. Have her walk down the stairs and be like, I'm up here. Y'all come in, or you know what I mean? You got to, and there's no reason not to, because the thing she got kicked off for before, it was stupid, and then the scandal that she had later on. Nobody cares about that stuff right now. Who cares about being in porn? Honestly, not nowadays.
I remember when I first read that story in the 2000s. I think I was in like middle school or whatever, and it did really seem like this big taboo thing. Like, oh my God, you're in the adult film business. Like you're going to hell, and everything's going to turn out bad for you. This is terrible. And now, everybody and their mama is probably getting into porn just to support themselves until they get a legitimate acting career. So yeah, it's not a big deal at all.
Honestly, I don't think people would care as much anymore. If a current actor did that right now, social media gives us so much access to people that it's not that weird.
My theory is that there's still tension between her and Jaleel, because I think when People Magazine had that big Family Matters reunion thing, Jaleel was there, but Jamie was not there. So I think there's still tension, and that's why I'm like bringing up like, can there be a reboot where the both of them are involved? Because Andrew, I remember you talked about the dark side of comedy. What wasn't the tension between Jamie and Jaleel highlighted in that?
I do remember, and I remember a few things that Jaleel, from what Jamie said, did on set that were incredibly offensive. And for myself, I'm with you. If I were to see a remake, Jamie needs to be involved. That is a requirement for me, or I will not watch it at all. Honestly, have her come down the stairs and be like, girl, I was waiting for my bedtime story. Where were you? Something like that. Have her come back down and do a show. On the dark side of comedy, she did indicate this one very specific moment with Jaleel yelling at her on set that kind of created more of the tension that I'm more aware of. But honestly, at this point, I see Jamie as the star of the show. Just the lore of the show, the fact that we can speak about her and people want her back, while Urkel, we're like, oh, okay, you were cool. It was great. You had a great time. I had your glasses, but we don't need you in the remake just yet.
Now that would be controversial. I don't think that there's any way that they would bring back this show without having Steve there most of the time. But I don't think there's any way they should bring it back without bringing Jamie back. Jamie has to come back. As far as you talking about Jaleel yelling at her, I've heard stories from different people. I don't know the man personally, never met him, but I've heard stories from different people that he at times a bit of a terror, because when you give a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old all that power, what do you expect? When you're in a situation like Gary Coleman on A Different Strokes or any other star who's a child, these kids are aware that they're paying the bills. So your mama might not necessarily rough you up, because if you don't act like you need to act, she might not be able to go on her vacation or pay her mortgage. You know what I mean? I really do believe, I was a teacher for 10 years. I know children. I really truly believe that he did act out, and I could only expect that from a child. However, we're in our mid 40s, not me, they are in their mid 40s, late 50s, 30s, 40s. Like, we should have moved past that. That was a long time ago. And the way they tried Judy, let me tell you something. Not just when she got kicked off the show, even before she got kicked off the show, they kept her on there a while. If you go back and watch it, and I'm sure y'all realize this, they kept her on there a while without a single solitary line in some episodes. If she would show up and just be sitting in the background. What are y'all doing?
Yeah, right.
They didn't even attempt to make it work. The girl is there. And of course, you get paid more when you speak. You know that. You get paid more when you speak on camera. I just saw an episode where the girl was just sitting there next to Laura looking at her. And whatever Laura did, she did.
Yeah.
She didn't say a word. Not a word.
Yeah.
It was honestly an insult. It really was.
And going back to the whole low energy thing, I mean, the season 4 episodes I was watching for the Rob Reisner interview that Andrew and I recorded, same thing with Jamie. I mean, seeing teenage Jamie not give as much of the charisma that kid Jamie gave. I felt like you could kind of tell, like, okay, she's not being used as much. Maybe she's kind of bored. It's not really giving as much. And so
checked out. She checked out because they didn't give her anything to do. She's like, just up there because you got 3 kids. So I guess we should bring them all down. I mean, you know what I mean? It's kind of almost what they tried to do. Well, a lot of sitcoms do that, where they bring in a younger, cuter kid, and all of a sudden the child right before that child is no longer relevant. You're either a teenager who gets to date or really young and cute, but that in between stage, they don't know what to do with you.
With you living in LA, I mean, have you, because I know Family Matters, they taped at the Warner Brothers lot in Burbank. Did you ever get to visit or pass by there and be like, did you?
Multiple times. Let me tell you about me. So first of all, I was raised on 90s TV. So I literally, this is Tuesday night, Sunday night, I went to the Moesha house and just went outside and took pictures, because this is what I do. I go to these places and try to capture nostalgia. So I've been to the Warner Brothers studios multiple times. I did the tour. I actually complained to the vice president of marketing because there was so much Friends content. I mean, so much Friends. When I say so much, I mean the side of my tram had Friends painted on it. Why is there so much Friends content? Where is Living Single? I literally was like, do y'all know who Living Single is? I don't see a single living. No, not you. I know you know. I asked them because there was not a single, even when you walk through the tour, they have pictures, like just different size, different frames of pictures. Can you tell me why there was one? This is a 3-hour tour. Why was there one picture of Steve Urkel? One of, do you know what Family Matters did for that network in the 80s and 90s? What Steve Urkel was to that network? Now, I will say that my tour guide, his name was Adam, sweet young white kid, like 19, 20. After I asked him about it, I was like, can you tell me about Living Single? Can you tell me about Family Matters? Can you stop telling me about Friends? He was like, sure. He had all of this information. He was like, wow, nobody ever asked me to say that. And so he had all of this stuff. Like he told me about episodes of Family Matters. He showed me where Jaleel White and George Clooney used to play basketball. He showed me like where they would, he showed me different outside scenes where the what is it called? The brick building where you remember when Steve was on the tightrope. I couldn't think of tight. When Steve was on the tightrope and he was hanging because he got drunk, and I think Rachel came and saved him. Y'all remember? Yes. So the exterior, he showed me that same brick building. It's the same brick building that Living Single used. It's like a lot of different shows use that same exterior brick building. And it's like he knew about the stuff, but they don't volunteer that information. You kind of have to ask about it because I guess they didn't think it's popular enough. I'm not gonna lie, people do come there for Friends, but I wasn't there for Friends.
It gets more than enough recognition as it is. I mean, I would say listen if you can, if you're familiar with the Questlove Supreme podcast. Kim Fields who played, what was her character on Living Single? I forgot. She was
Regine.
Yeah, you'll get a good perspective on how the Living Single cast was treated compared to the Friends cast, because of course they filmed in the same lot. And even back in the 90s and 2000s when like both shows were, or just the 90s when both shows were on the air, big front billboard, like tiny little Living Single picture somewhere in the background. Queen Latifah said that used to piss her off every day coming into work and seeing that. I think there was one day where the Living Single cast, they came to work in their studio, and their studio was just cold and dark, and they were just like, kind of like forced to work in those conditions. Meanwhile, Friends is over there. They took the idea, they came on a year after Living Single, and they're just riding high on that white privilege. So yeah, it's
just if you ever get a chance, I want y'all, if y'all can, to go to Warner Brothers Studio Tour. Warner Brothers is big, obviously, but it's not so big that you would never see the other people shooting on the lot. I was just there for Jennifer Hudson's show a couple of weeks ago. I've been there multiple times. I actually graduated on Warner Brothers campus because my school is on the same lot. I was the valedictorian, by the way, last year. You didn't ask, but I told you. But so I graduated on the lot. So literally, like I've been on that studio multiple times. It's not that big. I couldn't even imagine starting something and somebody comes and takes the exact idea and they're on like the top of the world. That show was huge. I don't know if y'all remember that those people were getting paid $1 million per episode. $1 million.
Yeah.
And this is 30 episode seasons back in the day. Don't get me started.
Well, no. So Andrew, that brings me a question for you, because I think recently you had started watching Friends, and actually that was sort of like one of the earlier conversations that we had that led into us deciding to watch Family Matters, because I think originally we thought we were going to rewatch Friends, and you had mentioned that you had never seen Friends, that you saw a lot of Black shows growing up, and then I think along the way I just said like, oh, let's just give Black shows the flowers they deserve and let's recap Family Matters. How do you feel watching Friends now, knowing the treatment that they got compared to Living Single, and you're also a fan of Living Single?
So I'm just going to say this, and it's probably an unpopular opinion. I don't like Friends. I don't think the show was that good. I'm going to be quite honest with you. I watched all of it, watched it with my friend Danny, and we watched all of it. And at the end of it, I was like, oh, okay. I can see why people thought this was funny. I can see that this is something that now people will go back and they would enjoy. I didn't like it. I was not a fan. And then I'm rewatching Living Single now. And I'm like, this is what I needed. I find myself open mouth laughing on the couch. I was crying the other night, laughing my face off, because I'm like, this is the entertainment that I wanted to see. And so after watching Friends so recently, I was like, okay. So Friends, this is going to be my analogy. Friends gave me pumpkin pie. Living Single gave me sweet potato pie. One tastes amazing. It's great. The crust is flaky. It's delicious. The other just kind of tastes like water with a little bit of something in it. And you're like, okay, this is not for me. And that's how I felt about Friends. I was just like, I get it. I get that people love it, but it doesn't deserve all this credit. Living Single actually deserves every single point of it, because watching both shows, some of the jokes are directly taken from Living Single and put into Friends. But because it doesn't have that same context of what this situation would mean to somebody who is Black, let's say not able to pay their rent, it doesn't work. So you look at it and you're like, okay, I get what you were going at, but where's the rest of the story? Living Single gave us the start, beginning, middle, enjoyable, and the end, which sustained us. So I'm not a Friends fan, unfortunately, and y'all did your thing, but $1 million an episode should have gone to Living Single, not Friends.
And to stick through 10 seasons of a show that you weren't a fan of, man, that must have been not easy.
It wasn't easy, but I was one of those people, and I still am. I'm like, I'm going to try it. If I start it, I'm going to make it through all the way to the end. And I did it. I will never watch Friends again.
Oh, okay. So, Christian, did you hear about the story, bouncing off of Friends? I think it was one of the executives at NBC, which was the network that aired Friends. The year before, they literally looked at Living Single, and they were like, man, if we could get a show like that, that would be great. And there you go.
His name was Brandon Tartikoff, the executive at NBC. He passed away. I'm a nerd. So I knew him when he was behind Saved by the Bell and all the NBC. And yeah, they asked him on some interview. Queen Latifah said it on the James Corden show. They asked him on some interview, and on Andy Cohen too on Watch What Happens Live. They asked him if you could have any show that's on right now, what would you have? And he mentioned Living Single. And then a year later, Friends came out. You know what really pisses me off about this whole Friends Living Single debacle? Multiple things, but there's no excuse for why you, all of us can name probably all the characters on Friends, even though if you haven't seen them all, and know so much about them. And if you reverse it, the average white person, and I can say this from experience, I'm not just talking because I've done the research. The average white person now, then, period, knows nothing about Living Single. And if they watched it, would actually enjoy it, but wouldn't even think to watch it. First of all, if they've heard of it, but wouldn't even think to watch it because they see black faces. People don't understand that they have subconscious bias when it comes to certain things like that. Like I said, I went to grad school. I graduated last year, and I went to a film school on Warner Brothers campus. A film school. Except for one, all of my professors were black. I mean, were white. Every single one of them, except for one woman. And so that's fine. Whatever. I'm used to this. This is LA. Again, it's 9% black here. I made it my job, me and a group of people who are also black, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 of us. We made it our jobs to bring up Living Single every time because we're studying sitcoms. We're studying screenwriting. Guess what they keep bringing up? Friends. In this Friends episode, we had to act out episode of television, episodic episode from script. And they wanted us to do Friends. We simply refused. I said, there's no way. There's no way. These jokes are not relevant. One of the Friends jokes was one of the white characters, one of the characters was talking about doing something and his hair would get fried and he would have a Jufro. He said the word Jufro. I'm not doing that. I'm black. I'm not doing it. I have a fro. I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying? So my point is that I turned all my professors on to Living Single. I said, have you heard of Living Single? You should watch an episode. I recommended it to every single one of them. 2 of them watched it and both of them loved it. It's something that was on before Friends, and you missed on it. It's wonderful television and you missed out on it simply because you saw black faces when you turned to Fox. That's the only reason why. Unfortunately.
And Dave, I remember you probably know this as well, but like when David Schwimmer, he sent out that tweet that said, like, you know what, we should have an all black Friends. And Erica Alexander followed up and said, yeah, you do. It's called Living Single. It already exists. We came before you. So, oh God, it's something.
It's tone deaf. It's so tone deaf. It's like you don't even realize it.
And tying it back to Family Matters, I texted this to Andrew. Did you know the Living Single pilot? They used a Family Matters set in that pilot.
Of course I did. That first episode, when they were in that house.
Yep.
Wasn't it? Yeah, they were in that house, but they changed it up a little bit. I think they did something to the paint or something that was maybe they changed the angles you know what I mean?
The kitchen definitely was like purplish. It was different. Yeah. But I remember rewatching the first episode on Max the other day, and I was like, holy fucking shit, that's the Winslow house.
Because I believe they filmed it like way before they shot the rest. It was like a test pilot to see if somebody would pick it up. Yeah, back when it was called My Girls. It was called My Girls.
Oh, know that. Didn't know that.
I mean, now that I'm just thinking about Living Single, I'm just like, damn, now I've got even more stuff to watch again. Yeah. But the one thing I did want to ask you, and as anybody who binge watches the show, watches the show in general, there's always one episode in a season or a series where you're just like, this is ick to me. I can't watch it because it brings up these weird emotions. Is there any Family Matters episode that's like that for you?
Multiple. So the show lasted long enough to where I could have multiple favorite episodes and multiple ick episodes. I'm going to give you a brief idea of a moment of my favorite episode. You didn't ask, but I'm just going to tell you. The second or third season when the church, this is back when black shows had to have a church episode. The family went to church, and Rachel was the choir director. She was acting up and, was in charge and got a little haughty. And then at the end, the family all got up and sang, "Put your hands in the hands of the man that stilled the waters." Y'all know that? Episode?
I know the episode.
Okay, so I'm a singer. So this was major for me because this is back when all actors had to be triple threats. You had to know how to sing, you had to know how to dance, you had to know how to act. Even Jaleel White can sing, even though he was faking on an episode. Everybody had to. So every single family member got up and sang a little solo. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. Darius McCurry sang his face off. He did his good singing that day. And that's one of my favorite moments of the show. Let's fast forward to the ick. So one of the ick moments was anytime they had villain characters or thug characters, because it was never believable. Do you remember the bad girls that beat Laura up?
Oh my God, the gun episode?
When it shot Trina McGee Davis, and her reaction to being shot was like, oh my God, I got shot. It was just so painfully bad. It was, well, how did we get here? I don't know if it was a jump the shark moment, but like even the way that the bad girls were acting, they always had to have one non-black gangster in the gangster girls group. And like the non-black gangsters back there like, yeah, we're gonna beat you up. It's like, it was so bad, y'all. I was going to insert a clip here. It was so painful, like cringe. And then they had the very special moment at the end where the whole cast gets together and says, it's never safe to have guns. Give up your guns. You know, like a straight to camera moment. And they 1-800 give up your guns. And I'm like, golly, this is bad. If I was a thug, I would never give y'all my guns. Like, that's one of many ick moments.
Okay, we're kindred spirits. I'm sorry, I'm about to cry from laughing. We are kindred spirits. I think about that episode at least once a month because it's so bad.
So, anytime they had thugs, like even Sean Baker, who was on Living Single, he played Russell on Living Single. He played the bad thug cousin on Family Matters. Y'all remember that? Mm-hmm. So actually, he did a good job. He's a good actor, so he did a good job. But it was Carl's way of being a cop, and it was so many respectability politics in it. Like, pull up your pants if you want to be respected, and wear a suit. And it's like, that ain't how it worked. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X was wearing suits when they got shot. Like, that's not how it works. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it was bad, but it's still good though. It was so bad that it was good. You know what I mean? Like,
what do you think about when Eddie got racially profiled?
I thought that was good acting. That was another good acting moment. And they did, if I'm remembering, they didn't go into the whole respectability politics thing. They did kind of veer off into the he's a good kid from a good neighborhood and stuff like that. But I understood why they were doing it. You know what I mean? And I was surprised because, again, this was a white ran show, but I'm sure they were listening to the actors and people who had input. You know what I mean?
Okay. So I do have to ask you, because apparently you played Esther Roll in a biographical piece. Was this like a theatrical production? Esther Roll of Florida from Good Times, Andrew. Tell me the story about that. How did all that happen?
So she's another South Florida native. She's from Pompano Beach, Florida, and Bahamian like me. So I felt like she was one of my people that I had to play. And I auditioned for it. This was in 2020, at the end of 2020, I auditioned for it on Zoom. And the show got shut down because of COVID, of course, in March of 2021. But it was a theatrical production. Her family was behind it. They really appreciated my role. I was able to do maybe 3 shows before the whole COVID outbreak or whatever. But it was great. It was called Let the Good Times Roll. I did it in South Florida. We toured South Florida, and it was wonderful.
So was it about her life as an actress, or was it about her role in Good Times? What was in the show?
So it was specifically about growing up in South Florida, growing up with the I guess it's life as an actress, because growing up with the tribulations of being an actress in the 50s and 60s. It was about growing up on a farm, I want to say, and just her life in general. And it ended with Good Times. Actually, it ended with her winning an Emmy for Good Times, which was my final scene was me in her Emmy gown accepting the Emmy. And they talked a little bit about something very similar to Family Matters, how the show started off being about her. The show was a spinoff of Maude, and it was supposed to be about her and her family, right? Yeah. And then it ended up being about who? JJ. And his hygiene, and how pissed off she was about that. Same thing as Joe Marie with Steve Urkel and Jaleel White. We talked a little bit about that. She was so annoyed with JJ in the play and probably in real life.
I totally forgot about the parallels. Yeah, because Esther Roll and John Amos, who plays the dad, and he's thankfully still with us. Yeah, no, I mean, I think they did like a Jet interview article thingy-majiggy where they openly talked about JJ and how it negatively portrayed a black young man living with his family on television. And, I don't think Jimmy Walker even really spoke out about that, because he was kind of caught in the middle, because he's like, oh, hey, I'm a star of a television show, but at the same time, like, oh, damn,
His dynamite was Steve Urkel's "Did I Do That?" Like, it became a situation where you had to say it every episode. His little catchphrase, and people loved it. And it got to the point where, at least in the play, it was written that Esther was like, are they laughing with us or are they laughing at us? Because it doesn't feel like they're laughing with us. You know what I mean?
Good Times, like Family Matters, written by a lot of white people. So that, that Norman Lear. Yep. That play. Oh my God, I totally forgot about parallels.
It ain't the first time.
Reginald and Joe Marie, I think it was when Steve, or Jaleel rather, dressed up as Myrtle, the cousin of Steve, for the first time. And then backstage, Reginald and Joe Marie was essentially telling this poor kid that he was being a disrespect to the Black race. Andrew, were you ever into Good Times?
So I love Good Times. I thoroughly enjoy Good Times. That was me and my mom's show. Me and my mom would sit down and watch and watch. Now, I have to ask you guys, do you find it weird now that a lot of things from Good Times that focused on Florida or Esther, the character, in the show are a lot more prevalent than what we know about JJ? Just an example, one of the craziest sounds on TikTok right now is damn, damn, damn. And that comes when, oh my God, when John Amos dies in Good Times and she breaks the glass bowl. That moment for me, I remember watching as a kid and my mom was all emotional and everybody's emotional. I'm like, I don't get what's happening here. As an adult, I get it. But have y'all noticed that the things that we look at, like the Urkel-isms in shows, I'm coining that term, by the way, that's what's bigger now as opposed to the characters that came in and really shifted the show?
What would you get? Can you give me an example of something from Family Matters that's bigger than it was back then?
Judy. After Judy disappeared and we were like, oh my God, where did she go to? Now it's bigger. People are like, okay, let's talk about Judy. Like Urkel was great, but where's Judy? So there's situations like that are happening. And that would be my example if you guys notice something like that.
Yeah, I mean, one of our biggest fans, Judy Winslow Matters on Instagram. There's a fucking Instagram talking about the fact that Judy mattered. And there's literally comments on this page saying Judy is like the best character on television. So I know exactly what you're talking about. It's not until actually us having recapped this show so far in season 1 that I'm appreciating the fact that, like, oh, hey, there's a heartwarming, cute, funny, comforting quality that the Winslow family provides. And now I don't see so much Urkel as like, oh my God, he's the one that makes the show. It's kind of like, oh, here's the person that shifts it in a way that makes things feel strange at times, Does that make sense, Christian?
That totally makes sense. So what I'm thinking now that you've mentioned it, the conversations that we were having watching this, like, because everybody like at home really was saying, where did that other child go? Like, do they think we're stupid? We know they had 3 kids for 3 or 4 seasons. Where did that child go? Those conversations that we were having are now becoming more public because of social media. Like all of us were having those conversations at home and the studio can't play us anymore. Like they can't pull the wool over our eyes anymore with that. For example, I'm kind of derailing a little bit, how they used to have multiple or the same actor playing different characters on shows. Y'all remember stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
And back in the day, I remember me and my sister saying, wait a minute, that's a different world. That Spencer, he was just the firefighter on the previous season. Like, what's going on? Like Kim's boyfriend is now the drummer in Ron's band. Like, what's happening? You know what I mean? That type of situation. And we couldn't talk about it publicly because we didn't have the forum. But now because of social media, TikTok, things like that, Instagram, now we can start whole Instagram pages about forgotten characters and things like that. So I think it's just a way for all of us to get our frustrations out. And like you said, now the Esther roles of it all get more attention than they did back then. It's almost like a cult classic becoming a classic now. You know what I mean?
You're a working actress, and I think you're still also an educator in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah. All of the above. Actor, singer, educator, DoorDash driver.
So
everything.
Look, the side hustle life is real, man.
Baby, all the side hustles. I ain't got no more sides left, child. All the sides.
Which brings me to this, because I've always been curious, as someone who used to dabble in acting back in the day, and I had thoughts back in the day of going to Los Angeles. For aspiring actors who want to go out there, what would you say to them, with your reality?
Who want to actually come out here?
Yeah.
I would say to them that it's not the 90s and it's not necessary to come out here to be an actor. I would say that you have the blessing and the privilege to have access to social media. And that is the wave of the present and the future now, because that's where people are turning to. That's where networks are turning to, i.e., I don't know if you guys watch Abbott, but the last 2 guest stars on there have been people who went viral on TikTok. So while I'm out here auditioning, the person who got my role may never acted in their life. You know what I mean? So that's the type of situation that we're in now. So you don't have to spend the money and come out here to be an actor. You can start on TikTok. For instance, I have a TikTok series right now. Black actors whose face you know, but whose names you may not. It's on TikTok. It's getting some notoriety. It's all about actors whose names you don't know. You know their faces. You see them in a bunch of things. I've been doing this series for a couple of years. I went viral last year I was on a Today Show for this because my headshot was sold to a lot of different companies and they stock companies. And so my headshot shows up everywhere. And last year it showed up on the cover of a sex novel. So I went viral for that. Yeah. Check me out on check me out on TikTok. That's a whole other show. I know we gotta go. But check me out on TikTok. It's Christian.joy.d on TikTok and Instagram. And that is the way to go nowadays, honestly. I have an agent, I have multiple agents, but the most notoriety I get is from social media. That's how people see me and know of me and book me for other things.
Because I have a person who went to the same art school that I went to in Philadelphia back in the day, and he would talk begrudgingly about going on auditions, and it's not even about your talent anymore. It's like, oh, you got an Instagram following that's large? Okay, we could use that for, our film to get more press and everything like that. So yeah, it's the culture has definitely shifted. And I think you said you were working on a few short films as well.
Yeah, so I just finished one called Face Love. I don't know when it's coming out. They just emailed me the other day about the credits. So I filmed it last year, last summer, and it should be coming out maybe in the end of 2024. I got a couple other things coming out. I'm writing some stuff. Check out my IMDb page. Check out my social media.
How can people find you on IMDb and social media and all that stuff?
Christian Joy Demeritt, CHRISTIAN, Joy, JOY, Demeritt, DEMERITT. And just remember Christianity, the feeling of happiness, and those things you get in private school. That should jog your memory if you're trying to spell it.
There you go. I love that. Well, I mean, Christian, I mean, you started out growing up and watching all these shows like Family Matters and becoming fans, and now you're working in the same business that these shows are involved in. Does that sort of give you a different perspective of the business and a negative view and a more positive view? Like, how does that change things for you?
I wouldn't say negative or positive, just more real. It makes it more of a job than anything else. Growing up, I always paid attention to the people who were working not behind the scenes as in behind the camera. I'm talking about the people who weren't the stars of shows. Those are the people that I wanted to know more about, which is why I have that TikTok series. And I thought of it as like a glamorous life. And it really is just a job. Like the people that I've watched my entire life on TV, I go to church with them. I sing with them. They're on my phone. They're text. It's just, these are regular people. I mean, literally living life gig to gig, have had some success, and the prior success really doesn't matter because people get amnesia so quick and forget about you and all you've done. So it's really just people. You might as well be a post office worker. You know what I mean? Whether you had a sitcom or not, like that's how it is, at least in Black Hollywood. It's really regular. So it's not negative or positive. It's just more grounded. It's a gig, I
got to thank you for, taking the time to talk to us, Christian. I mean, I think that, between the fandom of Family Matters and other Black shows that we love, and also like your experience in the business, I think I personally have found this to be a very entertaining and informative conversation. I don't know about you, Andrew. What are your thoughts?
This was amazing. I am so happy that we got to talk to you. I literally feel like I have a kindred spirit right now.
Oh.
I'm so excited.
I'm so glad you guys are doing this podcast. I really appreciate it. I don't know how I found you, but I got excited even seeing that somebody else is reviewing something that I watch all the time. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I think you guys are great. Call me anytime if you need to do another show, whatever.
Absolutely. Great. And we're so glad that you found us, because it wasn't until like after we had started doing this podcast that I realized, oh, there are other Family Matters podcasts. It's just you have to find them in a specific way. So I'm glad that you happened to stumble upon us. And yes, we would love to have you back anytime. I think it was just a lot of fun talking to you. So thank you.
Y'all have a good night. I know it's late over there on the East Coast. Y'all get some rest.
All right. You too, Christian.
All right. Have a good night.
All right. Well, how was that?
That was very good. That was awesome. It was great talking with her.
I loved her. She was just had she was passionate, just had a lot of knowledge, and what I love is just having that fellow nerdy knowledge about pop culture, Black shows, everything like that. And I just felt like you said, you were feeling like kindred spirits with her. I felt the same exact way. I mean, if we have other Family Matters fans on the show, it'll be hard to top this one. That's what I will say.
It'll be hard to top it. I love that people love it, but she just ate that up. She ate it up, left no crumbs on this table, and that was fun.
Well, hey, take us out of here.
All right, so we are headed out of here because all of us have participated in film, podcasting, and door dashing. So we're going to just let that deliciousness ring.